During my college days, I took up babysitting to earn some extra cash. It wasn't the most exciting job, but it paid the bills. One evening I was tasked with looking after a 4-year-old boy while his parents attended a work event. It seemed like a routine babysitting gig, but that night would become etched into my memory for all the wrong reasons. The parents left just before dusk, leaving me in charge of their son. The house was quiet, and I spent the evening watching TV with the boy and keeping an eye on him while he played with his toys. Everything seemed normal until I heard a shuffling sound coming from the basement. It was faint at first, almost like a soft rustling. I brushed it off, thinking it might be the wind or some small animal. But then the boy asked me about the noise, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. I assured him that it was probably nothing and headed downstairs to investigate. I opened the door to the basement and turned on the lights. The shuffling had stopped by then, and I cautiously walked around the cluttered space. Boxes and storage items were scattered everywhere, making it hard to see clearly. I searched for any signs of movement or intruders, but everything appeared to be still. I returned upstairs and told the boy that there was nothing to worry about, trying to ease his anxiety. We continued with our evening routine, watching TV until it was time for him to go to bed. I sat on the couch scrolling through my phone. I heard the shuffling sound again. This time it was louder and more pronounced. My heart raced as I listened intensely, and then I heard the bedroom door open. The boy's voice trembled as he called my name from upstairs. I rushed to him and he pointed towards the hallway leading to the basement. Fear gripped me as I realized that the noise was coming from there again. I instructed him to stay in his room and grabbed my phone, ready to dial 911 if needed. With cautious steps, I approached the basement door and turned on the lights. The sight that met my eyes chilled me to the bone. A figure, hunched over and disheveled, was rummaging through the clutter. The shuffling sound was so much louder now, echoing the confined space. Panic surged through me and I slammed the basement door shut, my heart racing. I hurried back to the boy's room, determined to keep him safe. My phone felt heavy in my hand as I called the police. The sound of sirens grew closer, but the shuffling continued to resonate from the basement. When the police arrived, they conducted a thorough search of the house. The basement yielded signs of someone had been there, but the intruder was nowhere to be found. The boy's parents arrived, worried and grateful for my quick thinking. They assured me that they would take care of the situation and thanked me for looking after their son. As I left their house that night, I couldn't shake off the eerie feeling that the intruder was still out there, somewhere. The incident left me shaken for weeks, unable to forget the unsettling shuffling and the figure in the basement. I couldn't help but wonder who the intruder was and why they had chosen that house. The experience taught me to be cautious and aware of my surroundings, even in seemingly ordinary situations, and to this day, I can't help but question the intentions of the mysterious shuffler in the basement. What were they searching for, and where did they go? During my college years, I often looked after my best friend's 7-year-old daughter, Sophia. Their home was a serene retreat nestled deep within the Washington woods, far from the hustle and bustle of city life. The closest neighbors were miles away, allowing us to bask in the tranquility of the surroundings. One day, my friend asked me to care for Sophia for 2 days while she embarked on a business trip. I eagerly agreed and arrived at the charming house a few weeks later. The setting was idyllic, with tall trees swaying gently in the breeze and distant mountains painting a picturesque backdrop. As the day turned into night, Sophia and I enjoyed stories and laughter, sharing dinner, and watching a movie before bedtime. The evening was peaceful, and as I tucked Sophia into bed, I felt a sense of contentment. However, the tranquility was short-lived. Just after midnight, the silence of the house was shattered by the sound of a soft knock on the front door. My heart raced as I cautiously approached, finding a stranger standing there. He was tall, with an unkempt hair and disheveled appearance. He muttered something about checking if anyone was home before quickly retreating into the darkness. Unease settled in, and I locked all the doors and windows, trying to shake off the unsettling encounter. The hours ticked away, and as the night deepened, I found myself on edge. Faint sounds of movement echoed from the back of the house, like footsteps crunching on twigs and leaves. I peered into the darkness, my senses heightened, but saw nothing. Attempting to brush off my anxiety, I decided to watch TV to distract myself, but as the glow from the screen filled the room, I sensed a presence outside the window. Scratching noises emanated from the walls, and my heart pounded as I realized that something or someone was trying to get in. My mind raced with possibilities as I huddled with Sophia, both of us terrified. We spent the remainder of that night in a motel, leaving the eerie house behind. When the morning came, I received a call from my friend. She informed me that the police had investigated the property and the surrounding area, but no signs of the mysterious intruder were found. The uncertainty of his intentions sent shivers down my spine. A month later, news broke that the same man had been apprehended for the attempted breaking into neighboring homes. The unsettling detail was that he never stole anything during these incidents. His motives remained a chilling enigma. The experience forever changed my perception of safety and isolation. The memory of that night lingered, a constant reminder that even the most serene settings can hide sinister secrets. The woods, once a symbol of peace, now held an air of mystery that I couldn't shake. When I was 12, my mom's work schedule meant Saturday nights with a babysitter. Ethan, a 25-year-old guy, was usually the one. He was a friend of my mom's coworker and often left an eerie feeling. He had a quiet, strange demeanor that I found unsettling. He seemed to act overly nice when my mom was around, but the moment she left, his oddness was on full display. One Saturday evening, my mom chatted with him before leaving for work, and I settled in the living room to play video games on my Xbox. Ethan hung around the kitchen, speaking in hushed tones on the phone. I strained to listen, but couldn't quite catch his words. It was an unusual occurrence for him to be on the phone at all. After a while, he walked over and stood beside the couch, holding his phone. "Someone's coming over for a quick minute," he said, a forced smile on his lips. His words and demeanor gave off an uncomfortable vibe, and I was immediately on edge. I nodded cautiously and focused back on my game, trying to shake off the weird feeling. Minutes turned into awkward silence as I continued to play. I stole glances at Ethan, who seemed anxious and restless. Our living room had direct line of sight of the front door, and I felt like he was anticipating someone's arrival. Soon enough, a car pulled into the driveway, its headlights illuminating the living room. Ethan sprang up and hurried to the door. My curiosity got the better of me, and I watched from the shadows as he exchanged words with the man at the door. The hushed conversation was intense. Their body language was tense and agitated. The man handed Ethan a large bag. His face was a mix of anger and fear. The exchange seemed far from innocent. What was in the bag? Why were they arguing like that? The questions flooded my mind, but I was too far away to hear anything clearly. With the bag now in his possession, the man quickly left. Ethan closed the door and turned, his eyes locking with mine. There was a strange mixture of relief and anxiety in his gaze. He looked like he'd just narrowly escaped something. Ethan walked back into the living room, phone in hand, and settled into the chair. "Just a friend," he said, brushing off the strange encounter. His voice trembled slightly, betraying his unease. I nodded, unsure what to say. The unease in the room was palpable. Time ticked on and the atmosphere remained tense. Ethan continued to receive multiple phone calls, his voice growing more agitated with each conversation. He disappeared into the far loft area at one point, his raised voice echoing through the house. As the night wore on, the car from earlier returned, its engine roar breaking the silence. I peeked through the blinds, watching as Ethan once again rushed outside to meet the man. Their heated exchange intensified, the man's anger palpable even from a distance. Ethan seemed desperate, almost pleading with the man. It was a far cry from his composed self earlier. What was going on? Why was Ethan involved with this? The man eventually left, taking the bag with him, and Ethan's frustration was evident as he re-entered the house. With the unsettling events of that night weighing heavily on my mind, I headed to bed. It was strange for Ethan to leave before my mom got home, but maybe he had his reasons, or perhaps he was just done dealing with whatever was happening outside. Laying in bed, I found myself unable to sleep. My mind was consumed by the thoughts of the strange man, the bag, and Ethan's bizarre behavior. What was the connection between them? Was there something more dangerous going on? Eventually, the early hours of the morning arrived, and my mom still hadn't returned. I felt a growing sense of unease and feeling that something was very wrong. I decided to confront Ethan about his actions, but when I went downstairs, he was nowhere to be found. Peering through the window, I realized that his car was gone. He had left, leaving the house empty and me feeling vulnerable. Panic started to set in. What had happened to my mom? What had Ethan gotten involved in? I waited anxiously for my mom's return, my mind racing with the worst-case scenarios. When she finally arrived, I shared everything with her. The strange man, the heated exchange, and Ethan's abrupt departure. The fear in her eyes mirrored my own. The next day, my mom tried contacting Ethan, but all attempts were unanswered. She even reached out to his mother, who claimed he was sick, but neither of us bought that story. Something sinister was unfolding, and we were caught in its grip. As the years passed, the mystery of that night continued to haunt me. The questions remained unanswered, and the fear and uncertainty were forever etched in my memory. What did that bag contain? What had Ethan gotten himself into? And why did that man's visit set off a chain of unsettling events?